Dangerous new phase is unfolding in the Iran war, and this time the targets are not cities or bases, but the eyes of the American military. Iran seems to be systematically striking US radar installations across the region, and if these eyes go blind, the next wave of attacks could be far deadlier. This next special report gives you more details.
Something unusual is happening on the battlefield. Explosions are being reported at strategic sites, radar installations, early warning systems, military surveillance hubs. Now the picture is becoming clearer. Iran is systematically targeting American radar facilities across the region in a calculated attempt to weaken the defensive shield of Pentagon. These radar systems are critical. They detect incoming missiles, track drones, provide early warning to US forces and allied bases. Take them out and response time collapses. Reports say at least 5 US radar sites were identified and targeted in recent Iranian operations. The strikes appear precise, carefully planned, not random retaliation. Military analysts believe the strategy is simple: blind the radar, then strike harder. From Jordan to Qatar to Bahrain to Kuwait, several American military bases have come under attack, and on target were these radars costing hundreds of millions of dollars. Without early warning, even the most advanced air defense systems struggle to intercept high-speed ballistic missiles or swarms of drones. And there may be another layer to this operation. According to Western officials, Russia is believed to be providing intelligence support to Tehran. Satellite surveillance and targeting data could be helping Iran locate sensitive US installations with greater accuracy. If true, it would mean the battlefield is no longer limited to one region. It would mean a silent intelligence war is shaping the missiles that follow. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps has already demonstrated growing precision in recent strikes. By taking out the sensors, Iran has ensured that the next wave of missiles won't just be detected late, they might not be detected at all. The American eyes in the sky are being damaged, leaving the world's most powerful military in the dark, in the middle of a war. Euro Report, WION, World is One.
All right, lots to unpack. Joining me live from Washington, D.C. is Edward P. Joseph, lecturer at the Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies and a foreign policy analyst. Thank you so much for joining me here. And I wanted to understand from you, the problem, or I would say the expanse of this war as it spreads across West Asia. I'll just bring your attention to this latest post that came out from Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, he's close to the Trump administration. He's very much close to the leadership in the US, being a senator himself. He raises a question saying, why should America do a defense agreement with a country like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that is unwilling to join a fight of mutual interest? I want to just raise a question here. This is, and that post, he really targets Saudi Arabia for not joining the fight against Iran. Is that an expectation of the US that GCC countries should be becoming a part of it?
First, good to be with you. And I think the answer to your question is no. That's Lindsey Graham speaking. He's a United States senator. He says many things. He says what he wants. But I don't believe that the US administration has the expectation that Gulf neighbors like Saudi Arabia are supposed to get involved. What we've seen, and it's been without any equivocation, is that not only Saudi Arabia, but Qatar have sharply criticized and have not voiced, and this is the real surprising factor here, and the real takeaway is that they have not, neither Riyadh or Doha or Abu Dhabi, for that matter, have criticized the U.S. or Israel for the strikes that it initiated on the 28th of February. Very sharp remark last night of the Qatari Prime Minister, who called Iran's strikes a betrayal. That's from the country in the Gulf that is closest to Iran, Qatar. And Saudi Arabia has also stated that Iran, very clearly, that Iran will be the greatest loser of any widening or escalation from the conflict. So the point here, the takeaway is that as Iran tries to expand and the conflict, it creates and imposes political costs on itself. Please.
Mr. Joseph, I'll quickly go over the way the war has escalated at a very fast pace. Started with preemptive strikes, then strikes on military targets, strikes on air defenses and missile launchers, of course also a strike on an elementary school for girls, strikes on nuclear plants, strikes on oil facilities, strike on a desalination plant. At this point, on the other end, Iran, of course, has been striking in all directions. It has targeted, embassies, consulates. It has targeted West Asian countries. And also in the latest, it has mentioned that every warhead will have, every missile will have a 1-ton warhead. That's the latest that the IRGC has issued. What's the next step in elevation at this point? Because there seems to be no simmer down. So where does this go from here?
Of course, that's the question that everyone wants to know. Let me address that and also address the point in the report about that somehow the U.S. is losing its eye in radar and early warning installations. The fact is that the U.S. has a, quote, layered system of radar surveillance and early detection. So it's not reliant simply on ground-based radar. It also has seaborne, it has airborne AWACS. The Aegis cruisers have extensive early warning devices. So there's an array of what we call redundancy. And so it's not true that Iran is somehow taking away the U.S. ability to see the cost. And here, Iran uses these low-cost Shahed drones that cost about $30,000. But the interesting dynamic here is that Ukraine is entering into the picture. And Ukraine is already providing its technology that it has developed. Why? Because Iran has provided thousands, tens of thousands of these Shahed drones to Russia to kill Ukrainian civilians, to strike Ukrainian infrastructure. And Ukraine has devised techniques to mitigate and even kill these drones at even lower cost. The Ukrainian drone costs a couple of thousand or less dollars compared to $30,000 that Iran has to pay. And so this is the dynamic. Each step that Iran takes, each step that Russia takes has its own costs. So now Russia thinks providing intelligence to Iran is helping it. Well, guess what? Ukraine is now entering on the side of the Gulf, assisting the United States as well. And that will result in Ukraine being provided with the type of defense systems, air defense, and offensive systems that it wants, and economic support we can anticipate from Gulf states. So whatever President Putin provides to Iran, he's also going to pay a cost. Same with Iran when it strikes its Gulf neighbors. In terms of where it's going, excellent question. Obviously, it depends on the factors that are difficult to know. We don't know exactly the weakening of the regime. We do know that the amount of strikes, both ballistic missile and drones, have gone down dramatically. And that's very important because Iran depends on quantity, on a barrage. They need a barrage of missile and drone strikes to overwhelm the defense systems. And now their capacity and their inventory has gone down, so it makes it very difficult. But of course, there are other problems, issues that the U.S. has to contend with, which the rising price of oil, the fact that the Strait of Hormuz has been difficult to cross in this period. And so markets and the oil market in particular are disrupted. But one imagines, and this is presumably the presumption in the White House, is that the war will not last that long, and oil prices will then come down rather quickly once some sort of a settlement is achieved. Please.
Mr. Joseph, there is no timeline to that. Donald Trump said it's a short-term cost. That's how he had put it. But again, and I understand that there is no possible way to put a timeline on this, but they mentioned 4 to 5 weeks is when the war will go on. Do you feel the longer this goes on, the weaker it makes the US look at this point? Let me just explain this.